Welcome, everybody, back to the Buzz. We took about a month off for the holidays and rest and recoup. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling back to myself. I had COVID for about 10 to 12 days. It's no fun. It's no common cold. It helped me further understand and appreciate what coaches and athletes are going through. We ran a big story in the Sacramento Bee last week on this very theme. Is COVID the uninvited intruder that won't go away? We know what it did last academic year. All the high school sports seasons were pushed into the spring. There were no playoffs. There were so many stop and starts and pauses and testing and rescheduling. And then high school football started, mostly went without incident. We ran stories on how great the crowds were, how good the games were, felt pretty good. All this news about, hey, there might be another surge, the Omicron, and in some parts of Los Angeles, some parts in the Bay Area, high school sports are on pause. That hasn't happened here. We've had a number of soccer games, basketball games postponed or canceled because of COVID. It's still dicey. The big concern is, will high school sports be put on pause? Could playoffs be pushed back? Could some seasons be canceled? So far, that's the big concern from the coaches. Understandable. They're so fresh from what happened. But so far, everything seems to be okay. Some school districts, such as Sac City Unified, test their student athletes every day. McClatchy boys basketball hasn't played in more than a month. Some schools like the Elk Grove Unified test once a week. Some in Placer County don't test at all. So it's all a little bit different, but I think we're going to get through this. We do know that we have to coexist with COVID. That's what all the coaches said in that story last week. So that's we got our fingers crossed that we have our full playoffs and everything will come up. Some games probably we won't be rescheduled. Non-league games is just running out of time. So fingers crossed. That's why we see a lot of Monday games. That's why we're seeing a lot of Saturday games. And the CIF, the governing body, is also allowed for Sunday practices and Sunday games, normally not allowed because teams and coaches would play every day. But this helps allow for makeups and things like that. So you're not playing 6 games in a week. So we're going to have Cameron Salerno join us here in a little bit. He's my running mate at the Sacramento Bee. Jim Silva, Jim Silva, who helps run this show, he turned 40 today, allegedly. So happy birthday to him. But Jim Patrick is out today. He's under the weather, among other things. I think he's just delusional, but we always run with that gag there. So I'm going to run a little video clip here of something I shot the other day. It's the Grant basketball with the North right there. It's a throwback to their link up in North Sacramento. Played a great game against the longtime rival Burbank Titans, and I like the sportsmanship here. And the coaches are good friends. There's Denard Wilson on the right. Lindsey Farrell of Burbank, the longtime coach there, is a former Pacer. This game was supposed to happen last week, but Burbank was thinned by COVID. The coaches decided, let's play on Martin Luther King Day and let's get everybody healthy and everybody together. And I thought it was great. The first time I saw these two teams play was in 1989. I was brand new at the Bee. You still had the bubble wrap that I was peeling off. I was so new, and a big brawl broke out in the stand just after halftime, early in the third quarter. Had nothing to do with the players, had nothing to do with the coaches, just a couple of nobodies in the stand, and they got pepper sprayed and chaos. And then the game got canceled, and there was a lot of concern back then. Is this going to be the norm? Or we're going to have to cancel these games? Are the city schools going to have extra security and police? They got past it. And there was talk back then, don't let these schools play anymore. The coaches, John Copeland then for Burbank, Steve Williams then for Grant, insisted, let's keep this rivalry going. So the whole theme really, and check out our story this week in the Sacramento Bee, is these schools, they're so similar. The players, the coaches, the dynamic, the communities. It's important for them to play. There was a great crowd. So I applaud that. That was cool to see. And I really like the old jerseys that Grant has brought back. North, I mean, one more peek at that, the North, because normally it's Pacers or Grant or Pacer for life, but that's just an example of how much that school means to that community. All right, let's bring in Cameron Salerno. We appreciate Cameron. Cameron was telling me off air he's getting ready for 20 units as he plows through the final lap of his Sac State experience. Hey, you're looking refreshed now. We'll give it a few weeks. You'll be exhausted and all that, but welcome back. Good to see you. What's been going on? It's been a while.
It's been nice. Just not doing really anything, to be honest. Been watching a lot of football, watching some not so great basketball with the Kings, obviously.
The
It's been
community
fun, though.
service pledge. Yes.
Yeah, I know our guy Damian Barlin at ESPN 1320 tweets some of those hilarious. He said people who cover the Kings deserve hazard pay, and I think that's really true. I know you experienced it last week. I experienced it a few weeks ago. I actually saw a win, which was a miracle. They beat the Lakers. They played the Hawks, and they played without Trae Young, or the Hawks did, and they still found a way to lose. And obviously last night was a disaster. It's kind of like watching a train wreck in motion, and you just know
It is. And I wrote a column the other day after a dreadful loss to a team that has less talent than the Kings, and said, let's blow it up already, make trades. And I've written about this earlier too, Cameron, where if basketball purists, and we appreciate Kings fans because they're so loyal, but if you're a basketball purist and you appreciate screens and boxing out and the extra pass, go watch a high school game. Go watch a high school girls game. Go watch Folsom. Go watch any of those Sierra Foothill League teams. And how they share the ball. Go watch a boys game. Go watch Sheldon. Go watch Jesuit. And it's interesting to me that at the high school level, fundamentals are stretched or stressed, I should say. And in college, we saw the doubleheader you and I did, Cameron. Men and women, Sac State, UC Davis played a doubleheader at Golden One. Hey, they all set screens. They boxed out. Kings don't. So it's just you would think that at the NBA level they would do that. It's not always stressed, and it just makes it a blunder product.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, just watching how they continue to blow leads every night, it's crazy. It's predictable.
It's painful and predictable. No, you're right. And
I mean, me and my dad have had the joke for years that the game's not over. The Kings could be up by 20 in the fourth quarter, and there's still a chance they're going to lose the game. I mean, I feel more comfortable watching the Kings when they're trailing rather than winning, because at least they have a chance to come back. But
exactly
yeah,
right.
a train wreck, and I agree with you on that point. If you want to go watch some good basketball, go watch the high school game in this area, or even go watch Sac State or UC Davis. They both play good.
No, I agree. We put together a couple of charts here, and we're going to take a look at some of the top scorers going on right now. And this is for boys. And go take a look at these guys. Some of these are some of our ranked teams, like Burbank, Ponderosa is our number 2 ranked team. Some of them are the smaller schools that aren't ranked. Beeman at Sac Adventist. He's the younger brother of Brecken Beeman. This is Braden, and I've seen this kid play, and he scores a ton, and he's got a super coach and Scott Tedman. And if you don't set screens, you're going to sit on the bench. And so that's really cool. And, I'm going to try to get to any of these guys that you want to talk about, Cameron. So Brandon Herrera of Foothill, 28.1 points a game. His team's not
he's on tear.
Oh, he's good. Isaiah Griffin. I saw him on Monday. Isaiah Griffin and Omari Nesbitt are a terrific 1-2 guard combination. Juan Luis Rubio of Rio Linda, 26.2. So you don't have to be a dominant team to have a dominant player.
I haven't seen 2 24-point score pluses like on a same team in a while. I mean, maybe
it's rare.
But I mean, even
Sheldon didn't have that. A lot of those great Sheldon teams, Cameron, didn't even have anybody scoring 20. Just a lot of balance. But you're right. It is rare, but it also is reflective, I believe, of the wide open shooting. And these guys can shoot, and they're pretty good. And they have a loss to Grant. Grant won that game. We talked about Grant, and Grant won that game. And Vaughn Zabare of Ponderosa is one of their 2 great players. Aaron Bliss is their 6'10" big man for Ponderosa, who Stanford's looking at. He's a 4.5 GPA, runs the floor, blocks shots. But Nick for Ponderosa leads them in scoring as a guard, 21.7. It's the best start in school history, and school opened in the early 60s. So a pretty good list there. And you got Wyatt Rumfeld of Woodland Christian. So some small schools there. And let's take a peek at the girls scoring list.
You're going to be wowed by this, Joe. Audrey Harris at Faith Christian.
What you got? Yeah,
she's averaging 44 points a game. 44. That's incredible. I know in the season opener she had a 50-point outing. I think recently she scored 52. She's had, I think, a quadruple double or a triple double this year. She had like 10 steals, 20 rebounds, 50 points. It's numbers you put up in a video game. So she's had an incredible performance. And
she's a 5'8" junior for Faith Christian High School in Yuba City. Someone might go, yeah, but they're small schools. Yeah, but she's doing her job. She opened up with a game of 54 and has had games of 46, 45, 42, 42, 40, 50, and 34. She's worth going out to just take a look at. Just, what's going on here? This is really impressive. And so kudos to her. And let's take a look at some of these other scores here. Carter of Antelope, I think, was out for most of the season. Is she not a transfer?
She transferred in from Rockland. She's only played probably 7 or 8 games, but she's averaging well over almost 25 points a game. I know with Max Preps, and this is kind of what we'll preface on saying, is not every team's going to enter stats. So there could be someone at, I don't know, Granite Bay or Del Oro who's averaging 25 points a game. We don't even know it. I know Tegan Brown, I think she's averaging almost 18 or 19 a game, so she'd probably be on this list. I don't know if they've entered all their stats, but they probably have. But yeah,
Tegan Brown is of Oak Ridge, and you just saw her, and she's a standout player. I'm going to have you explain what her game is all about. But Steve White's their longtime coach, and he said he's told you best player ever coached, and that's saying something because in 2010, Oak Ridge won the state CIF Division I championship. Mark Tennis of Cal High Sports called it the biggest upset in state basketball history. They beat Long Beach Poly, which had 8 scholarship players. I covered that game. It was a clinic put on by Oak Ridge and Sarah James, who went on to Stanford. So for Coach White to say that Tegan Brown's the best player he's ever coached is a great compliment, because I saw Sarah James and she's an all-timer. What is it about Tegan? What is her game? How tall is she? How does she score? What does she do?
I mean, she's like a tall, lengthy guard who can rebound, defend, shoot, score. I mean, she can do literally everything. I think she's probably our best senior player in the area. I know obviously there's some people who might disagree with that. I just think I've seen her play multiple times, and every single time I've seen her play, she locks up the best player. She held Madison Butcher at Del Oro to 2 points, and she's going to Sacramento State, so that's definitely a really good player, and she just does everything for them. And she's a team leader. She's been a 4-year starter at Oak Ridge. And I just think she's probably our best senior area player because of just the work ethic she's put in.
David Caraccio is our producer. If you could put that list back up, so we're going to take a quick peek at some of the. Okay, so here in the bottom of the list, we have Gwen Feyard of Sacramento Adventist. I saw her play. She played against Center, which has Maisa Sagan of Center. 2 programs that aren't on our rankings and all that, but the good players, they move without the ball, they share the ball. And Allen of Capital Christian, Danelli Allen, I think has a school record now of some 40-something point game.
Yeah, she scored 44 points against West Park, and I think that was the first game at West Park too, which is pretty cool, or one of the first games.
Yeah, and that terrific new school with a great dreamy facilities in Placer. And Array Young of Laguna Creek, you and I have both seen her. I think she's going to Tulsa. Correct me if I'm wrong.
She's a really good player. I mean, if there was a draft as far as pick the best players in the Sacramento area, she'd probably go at least top 3. She's just one of the best players overall in the area.
So our theme here today is, hey, if you're burnt out on the Kings, we all are, we feel your misery, go check out one of these kids. I mean, these kids, it means everything to them. So kudos to them. And let's take a look at some basketball rankings and break that down. And we're really full into the season now. We have the playoffs starting next month, Cameron. So here we have Intercom Tigers are top ranked by the Bee for the first time ever. School opened in 2004. Fred Wilson is the coach. They have size. They have depth. They share the ball. They also got slowed by COVID. They missed a couple of games. They were supposed to play Sheldon last Saturday in a showcase thing at Sheldon. Didn't happen. A lot of games were juggled around. Ponderosa is now 19-0 after winning last night against Lincoln. Against the Lincoln Zebras. I'm going to go check them out tonight. That was actually on Tuesday. So I'm going to go check them out tonight against Placer. Grant is 14-2, Cameron, with 2 losses to Intercom. So there you go. There won't be a rematch. Intercom's Division I, Grant is Division II. Elk Grove, Sheldon, Burbank, Whitney, Folsom, Antelope, Wood of Vacaville. Let's take a look at the other 10 here. Reamericano, Capital Christian in the same league. Jesuit just lost last night to Cosumnes Oaks. Jesuit plays host to Sheldon tomorrow. I'm going to cover that game. Pleasant Grove's also of the Delta League. Oak Ridge of the Sierra Foothill League. All these other teams were, a lot of these are familiar programs. Placer and Lincoln are in the same league with Oakmont. But something happened at Sac High. Blue chip player on the move. Who was it? Where'd he go? And what's it mean, Cameron?
Yeah, so Ben Rosenbro, who's sophomore at Sac High, probably one of the best players in his class, decided to leave Sacramento High, or Sacramento Charter rather, and enroll at Prolific Prep, which is a prep school in Napa. He isn't the first player in the area to do so. Jordan Brown of Wood Creek did it in 2017. Coleman Hawkins from Antelope High School did it the following year. And then Issa Silva decided to do that as well, but then he left after a few weeks and went back to Jesuit. So he never.
That was a year ago. And now Issa's down at Stanford. I understand what Prolific Prep is all about. It's a prep school, kind of an accelerated learning for basketball. And you can't really blame the kid if you're. And I wrote a column, and I know you know Jordan Brown. You went to school with him. You got to know him, and I didn't agree with that move to Prolific Prep. He's already on the national radar. But I remember talking to his parents, and Jordan Brown, a 6'10" guy, a B Player of the Year, and his parents brought up a good point. Said we need to have him in practices where he's going against guys his same size, and in games where it's comparable. So, of course, if you do that, then you lose your high school experience. You can't still attend Wood Creek and only play games at Prolific Prep. And so I don't know if he's regretted it all these years later. Ben at Sac High is a terrific player, good-sized guy. When you said he's one of the top sophomores in his class, I think you mean nationally. He's a national recruit.
Right, yes.
We'll see. I'm not a big fan of kids playing half their career or three-quarters of their career at one school and all of a sudden going to a prep school. I understand why they do it. I think it just devastates Sac High. We reached out to the Sac High coach. You did, I did, never heard back. I don't know if he's upset about it, possible, but I don't blame him. And that's where we are now. If you're a blue chip guy, then you're going to get tugged at, not just by colleges, but by prep schools as well.
Well, it also it's not just guys who are in high school, it's kids who are enrolling in high school. I know you saw my tweet from a few days ago of a kid who's an 8th grader who posted a graphic about high schools that he would probably attend. I think it was De La Salle, Mater Dei, IMG, and I think St. John Bosco was the other one.
Posting a thing like, "Hey, where am I?" That's beyond ludicrous to me. And I know.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Caution interview with the kid. Well, we're not selling our souls here.
Well, the only thing I get is that he's a middle school kid. He's excited, and I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever post anything like that. Obviously, I 1/1,000,000th of athletic ability probably that kid has, but I mean, I get it. I mean, in middle school, we all did dumb stuff we probably regret, but I mean, I don't know. I get it. It's a weird stuff. It's how our era is right now. So
it is, and have fun with it. But it's just is that where we are? Yes, that's probably where we are in sports. And we talked about this off air and in person when you and I have lunches, Cameron, and every year you might get these emails too, or a social media note where, hey, I'm a parent of a incoming freshman looking for the best girls basketball program or the best football program. And my answer is, well, where do you live? We live in Greenhaven. Well, Kennedy High School is a great school. Yeah, but they're not doing it. I said, you got to start with a school. I mean, the days of people staying home in their neighborhood schools and playing sports really kind of ended a long time ago, unless you live in a small town. Colfax kids, but even sometimes Colfax kids will go to Del Oro as incoming freshmen. So it's a different day than many years ago, but this has been something that's been going on for the last 20 years, maybe certainly the last 10 years. A lot of people rub elbows and trying to figure out where they can take their kid, and coaches have to be careful. They can't just talk to kids. They can't talk to parents. There's always watchdogs out there to try to rat them out too. So that's something that really irritates coaches, administrators, and things like that. So very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a way to put it.
Yes. All right, let's take a look at our girls basketball rankings that Cameron does every week. Cameron, I'm going to defer to you. One thing that jumps out to me right away is Folsom, Oak Ridge, Del Oro are all Sierra Foothill League heavyweights. Folsom is just terrific, shares the ball. A lot of all 5 players could handle the ball, a lot of skill. We just talked about Oak Ridge, Butcher, Del Oro. McClatchy, Laguna Creek are the 2 front runners in the Metro League. McClatchy girls hadn't played in a while, and then just unloaded on Laguna Creek, I think, on Friday. So that's a nice bounce back for Coach Jeff Oda. Who's McClatchy's young player that has people talking and buzzing nationally.
Yeah, Nina Kane. I believe her uncle is Jamar Kane, who is
Yes.
the defensive line coach at LSU now.
Yeah, and
I know
he's a
USC.
Sacramento product. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, she's incredible, and then obviously Stray
And she's
White.
only a freshman, right? Is that right?
Yeah, she's only a freshman, and I mean, the McClatchy has a lot of young players, but they also have experience with Stray White and others, and so I think it's going to be a really fun battle for the Metro League title. And I'm going to flip it to you, Joe.
Yes, sir.
And this is a hypothetical, I guess hypothetical. Is this the year that a team from the Sac Joaquin section beats St. Mary's in a section final? And I think the team that I think can do it is Folsom, who has really shown no signs of laying up. I hope I really don't jinx it because I know they play number 2 Oak Ridge on Friday. So I think this is a huge test for the area, but I want to defer to you on that one.
Yeah, I did a story a few weeks ago. I watched Folsom and Laguna Creek girls play in a non-league game at Laguna, packed house. It was televised. It was, and I was amazed at the skill set of both teams and how far it come over the years. And that did come up talking to some of the coaches in the stands. There were retired boys coaches, Todd Risewood, Elk Grove, Robert Fong, Kennedy. They have no connection to this, but they're there because they appreciate good basketball. And so you talk about St. Mary's of Stockton. The Rams have won 19 section championships in the last 25 years or something, maybe more. If there's going to be a year, it's going to be, I would think now with Folsom, with they're hard to press. The Bulldogs are, so you could share the ball there. I think this might be the time. And wouldn't that be great? Because St. Mary's has derailed a lot of good McClatchy good teams and Kennedy good girls teams, and Mackenzie Forbes, when she was at Folsom a few years ago, elevated that program by herself as a B player of the year and could not get past St. Mary's. So this might be the time. Why not Vanden? Why not Vista Del Lago? Well, they're different divisions. I think Vanden's Division 3.
So is Vista Del Lago as well.
Exactly, and I think you're going to check out Christian Brothers this week. Colfax we've seen over the years, smaller schools. So we're loaded. Oak Ridge is also Division 1. I think if Del Oro wins the Sierra Foothill League, it would be Division 1. But it looks like Folsom's got a half step ahead there. But all right, let's take a look at the rest of the top 20, and there we go. More SFL teams: Granite Bay, Whitney, Rockland. Look at Bear River is off to a 12-0 start. Bear River, Cameron, in the 90s and the 2000s was a real standard bearer of girls basketball excellence around here. Dwayne Gansey was the coach. They played large schools. They beat them. They got the state finals. They won section championships, NorCal championships. So a lot of good work there. Monterey Trail is the other team in the Metro League with Laguna and McClatchy. So that's a good race there. And same with Grant as well. So the Metro is pretty deep. What does Antelope have? We talked about their transfer scorer, Coach Sean Chambers. Does he like his team? Does he feel like they could make another run?
Yeah, I mean, Antelope started the season, I think, 2-3, and that was a loss to St. Francis. I think that was probably their low point of the season. And then obviously they knew they were going to get Mary Carter back at the end of December because she transferred over from Rockland. And ever since she came back, Antelope has been a different team. They're winning by big margins. They're beating teams in their conference. And so I think Antelope has a great chance to make a run. It's funny. Chris Biederman's calling me right now. That's why my
tell him hold it off. He should be watching the show.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they have a chance to make a great run, to be honest.
Yeah, and Antelope was our best team the last couple of seasons. Janelle Harrio, I think we know that she's at Stanford. I believe she might be redshirting at Stanford. Certainly not because of academics, because she's just an off-the-charts scholar. But when you go to Stanford, and a lot of players in front of you. So we certainly look forward to watching her play down there, and Whitney, Rockland. And so Bear River and Colfax should be playing soon in that league. So that should be that's always been a great showdown. And what do you know about Rio Linda? 12-0. They have the scorer we were just talking about. And so Rio Linda is led by, who is that, Cameron?
She's on her
21 points a game.
Yeah, she was on our top 22 senior girls list. And, I mean, Rio Linda's been off to a 12-0 start. I think they've had some games delayed because of COVID, because I think they were 12-0 like 3 weeks ago, and obviously they haven't played another game since. And I think the same with Bear River. Bear River and Rio Linda both 12-0. And so for them to have those starts, I think is incredible for both those programs. And like you said, I'm going to do another top player list starting probably next week. Top juniors in the Sacramento area, and then top underclassmen in the Sacramento area. Like we've talked about, Joe, I think this girls basketball in the Sacramento area is a gold mine for talent. I mean, we've seen it time and time again of girls going on to the next level. Obviously, we had Janai Harriel last year, like you mentioned, who went on to Stanford, and Stanford won the national championship, and that's pretty cool. And then Tegan Brown going to Washington, Araya Young going to Tulsa. So there's some serious talent. I think, honestly, the talent is even getting better as time goes on.
I agree, Cameron. I've been doing this for 30-something years, and girls basketball has always produced more scholarship players than boys. And the boys game may get more fans, and some of those guys play above the rim and all that, but we've had so many more girls go on for scholarships. I'm impressed every year with how so many of these girls could budget their social lives and academic lives, and then they go out there and play 3 sports at a high level, or they play one sport at a super high level. And you're right. And so when you have this star power, and with girls, a lot of times we see 4-year starters, and they become anchors, and that's how Laguna Creek turned its program around. 3 years ago, they went with a bunch of freshmen, and now they're seniors. And Folsom, 12 years ago, 11 years ago, in Coach Wolking's first year, his first 2 years, they went 1-19 in league play. He had kids who bailed out of games. Coach, I can't play tonight. I'm going to a concert in the Bay Area. Or Coach, I've got a birthday party. And then they lose 88-7 to St. Francis. And that doesn't happen now. They're all bought in. They've all bought in. It means something. They play year round. A lot of them are homegrown products, or it's become a destination school. So, David, put that graphic back one last time, the bottom 20 of girls basketball. I just want to bounce this off the camera real quick. So somebody might say, well, how can you have Rio Linda and Bear River at 17 and 18? They haven't lost a game. And how can Whitney be number 15 with 9 losses? It just seems absurd. Well, these aren't one-loss standings. These are rankings.
Power rankings.
Exactly. And power rankings with an emphasis on strength of schedule and who they play and all that. So that's where that logic fits in. And
how I look at it, Joe,
played monstrous schedules.
How I look at it, Joe, is if Whitney played Bear River or Rio Linda, what would the score be? I think Whitney would probably win. And so that's why they're ranked ahead of them. And obviously, who knows? And we know that teams pull off upsets all the time, but it makes sense. Bear River and Rio Linda haven't beat anyone significant enough for me to put them ahead of a school like Whitney, who's played in SFL, and they've played teams from like the Bay Area and Southern California in big time tournaments. And so it just makes sense to keep them at 17, 18. They're still good. They're still ranked. They're 12-0. It's still 12-0.
Right.
But until they play someone significant, I think that's probably where they're going to be at the moment.
And we're not criticizing the coaches. These are programs that have not been powers. And so you don't take on Antelope and Granite Bay and the Sierra Foothill League and McClatchy until you get your program going. But it's nice that, Cameron, for years, we just had a top 10. And then in the last 25 years, there's been a whole explosion of new schools. In the last 25 years, Antelope and Granite Bay and Whitney and Rockland, they weren't even around. Same with Monterey Trail. So, Cameron, it's good to see you. I know you got games coming up this week. I do as well. We invite our viewers, if you got a question for Cameron or for me, you see our social media. We're easy to find at sacb.com. Send us a question or a comment. We'll get it on there. If you have a great video clip, send us our way. Thanks for the following, Cameron. I appreciate you, sir. We'll see you soon. And special thanks to David Caraccio and Jim Silva, the birthday boy who just turned 40-ish, for making the show pop. We appreciate everybody. If you missed part of this show, shame on you, but you can get on sacb.com later and find any of our shows from football, any of the shows from recent shows or today's show. We appreciate everybody. We will see you next week.